Hey there berries, welcome to my support 11.18 League of Legends tier list. So this patch is pretty huge, affecting a lot of roles and a lot of champions. This is because it is almost the world's patch. 11.19 will be the world's patch. But they're trying to do a lot of changes for this one and then balance it all on the next one. So if you don't know what Worlds is the tournament at the end where all the teams around the world compete. I believe it's going to be at Iceland now rather than China. Because of all the visa issues that people have been having with you-know-what. So yeah, there's certainly a lot of changes. They wanted to do some more dramatic changes for this Worlds because they wanted to make it more entertaining to watch, essentially. So there's going to be a few champions here that are going to get some interesting extra things on them, but we're going to be focusing on the support. And there are a lot of support changes here, but it's all focused towards the higher end of ELO as opposed to lower ELO. That's because, Worlds has high ELO players in, who would have thought? So looking at the champion nerfs, the main high ELO nerf there to supports is Thresh. Thresh is getting another nerf. I never recommended to play Thresh anyway if you were in gold minus, which this is tier list is essentially going to be focusing on is basically plat minus. So I never recommended you guys to play Thresh anyway, and that's going to be more of the case anyway. We'll have a look at the actual tier list in a second. But yeah, Thresh getting big nerf, movement speed nerf, and the E damage nerf, so it's just going to make his job harder in lane. And for the few of you that were naughtily playing Trundle support when you shouldn't have been in the lower ELOs, he's getting a massive nerf on his pillar. So don't expect Trundle support, or to be honest, Trundle jungle got massively hit here too, so don't expect to see any Trundles anytime soon. Varus and Ashe getting some nerfs here, so is Kalista. So if you have a duo partner that plays those champions, then they might need to revisit some other things. But moving into the champion buffs, which I'm sure you guys have been waiting for. A lot of champion buffs here, as you can probably see. Mundo's is going off the screen. I know we want to focus on support, but I want to touch on the Draven. Draven is something now that you actually need to be super aware of. He got a massive buff. So his ulti will now execute targets depending on how many stacks he has. So if you don't know, Draven's passive, whenever he catches an axe, he gets a stack of passive, and that is when he gets a kill, he then gets to cash in on that passive. Well, he can now use the ultimate to do that, and he can also execute enemies with that. So if you've got like a 500 stacked Draven who hasn't had a kill yet and hasn't died yet, because he loses stacks when he dies, if he chucks out his ulti on someone with like 500 health, then left after his ulti, then they're just going to get executed. So yeah, Draven is looking pretty scary, honestly, this patch. I can see him getting banned a lot in the higher ELO. If you're in the lower ELOs though, like in gold minus that we're talking about, you probably aren't seeing that many good Dravens anyway. So you can use some supports that target where he's going to be picking up his axes to kind of exploit that if he does come through. So yeah, just to give you a heads up on that one. Interesting, like little minor buff here for Karma. I don't think it increases her in the tier list too much, but it's a welcome laning buff. So she's getting +2 armor, which may not sound like a lot, but it all adds up, especially with like the minion damage and turret damage is all physical. And also her shield's getting buffed, so she's just going to be a little bit more annoying, a little bit more tankier in that laning phase. Morgana Black Shield is getting reduced by 2 seconds flat. They have nerfed her over time to increase the Black Shield cooldown, and now they'll be reducing it slightly. I don't feel like this changes that much, because you're probably still only going to get 1 Black Shield off in a team fight anyway. It's more of like a minor laning phase buff where like you've had to use your Black Shield to mitigate something, and then it's like the window of opportunity for the enemy support to re-engage is a little bit lower, but it's nothing that crazy. The craziest support buff is Soraka. So her ulti now clears grievous wounds from the target. So that ulti will always heal for its full potential no matter what. So yeah, huge Soraka ulti buff. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work with Ignite. I'm sure that the damage from Ignite will still come through, and then it will probably then replenish the Grievous wound straight afterwards. So just treat the Soraka ulti as it's going to be doing more healing now for free. And she's been insanely strong in solo queue anyway. I think this is probably the biggest, you know, like plat minus if you're on platinum or below. Like this is probably the biggest support buff this patch. So Soraka even stronger, and because of the Worlds patch coming in 2 weeks time, I doubt that Soraka will actually get nerfed again. So Soraka for the next month will probably be pretty strong, so keep an eye out for that one. We have finally a Yumi buff. It's kind of similar to the Morgana. Early stages of the Yumi in lane, she can activate her passive a little bit more to try and encourage a little bit more aggressive behavior so you can generate more mana. I don't feel like that was super necessary anyway, but it's fine. It's nice for Yumi players. I think one thing to take note, if you look at the AD carriers that are getting buffed, you got Jinx, we got Draven, Jinx, Kaiser, Misfortune, Twitch. I don't think we missed anyone out there, but most of those are hyper carries. So the Kog'Maw AP scaling isn't really going to do anything. I think that's more for a Kog'Maw mid lane, but the Twitch and the Kaiser in particular are more hyper carry kind of buffs. The Jinx one doesn't really matter that much. So theme is that the hyper carries are getting a little stronger, which can mean like champions like Lulu and the Yumi. I mean, Yumi also got a buff this patch, so like Lulu Twitch, Yumi Twitch are going to be a bit stronger this patch now as well. That Twitch ulti going up 10 AD on his ulti, which is going to make it honestly quite a big difference. So enchanters generally getting a little bit more power this patch. Nothing happening here to tank supports at all, and nothing happening to AP supports either. So basically just enchanter support buffs generally. And yeah, so think of those champions more maybe when you're playing in solo queue. We'll have a look at the tier list now. So if I switch it over and then let me, with the technology, change it so you can see it better. I've dumped a lot of people into tier 5. I'm going to just move my camera away so that you can see. Yeah, I dumped a lot more people into tier 5. You now got the Trundle down there as well. Just don't play any of those champions. I even put like the Ashe and the Misfortune down there. Just don't play them, please. Okay. Tier 4, we've now moved Thresh down to tier 4. Once again, you know, as I said, this is a plat lower kind of focused tier list. If you're in Diamond or higher and watching this tier list, why are you watching a tier list? So tier 4, Thresh, he's been moved down. And that's the only one I've moved down, the noticeable ones I've moved down. I mean, the movement speed, you know, he just shouldn't be played now. I think the other hookers in Nautilus and... who am I forgetting? Nautilus and Blitzcrank are stronger in those ELOs. Moving up into tier 3, as you can probably see there slightly, tier 3. Janna's been moved down into tier 3. Morgana didn't move up from tier 3. The 2 seconds off her shield is nothing too crazy. It's a welcome buff, but it's nothing kind of crazy there. And the tier 3 champions there have kind of just stood still in time. I believe I may have moved one up, which we'll talk about in a second. But yeah, Janna is in the enchanter kind of more meta of solo queue. What's happening right now with more Sonas, more Namis, probably more like Lulus because of the hyper carries, etc. Janna actually kind of doesn't do very well against enchanters in my opinion. She kind of exceeds the best against like the hard engages, like the Leonas and things like that. And if they're not getting played as much, then Janna doesn't have as much of a role, at least. She's not terrible. I think she's probably one of or the best person in tier 3 still, but she's just on the cusp of kind of like, you know, just feeling a bit mid to play in solo queue. Moving up to tier 2, we have Karma. I believe I moved Karma up from tier 3 to tier 2. I think, you know, she's getting the laning phase buffs are going to help her be a bit more dominant for sure. Sona in tier 2 as well. I was thinking about pushing her into tier 1, but I think I think she's still incredibly strong, but you are always going to be relying on your team to kind of pull through, more so than the other enchanters. So, you know, I think she's incredibly good still. I just think there's a couple of enchanters that are actually better than her in tier 1. So Yumi, good to get the buffs. She's still in tier 2 there, and I did move Brand down from tier 1 to tier 2. I felt like he was starting to fall off just a little bit. I think he's still a pretty good solo queue pub stomper, but I think he is starting to fall down just a little bit. Just a little bit, nothing too crazy. And you've got the Lulu there in tier 2. She's the kind of the generally the best go-to with hyper carries, and with like the Twitch being buffed, like Twitch Lulu is going to be particularly potent in that bot lane. Moving up to tier 1 though, tank supports aren't completely dead, but these are the two that I would highly recommend and probably being the most viable. You got Leona and the Nautilus still up there. You have the Zyra, Soraka, and Nami. But if I had to choose one on this list, it's going to be the Soraka, as we talked about that huge buff that she got. If there was a tier, 0, she would be up there. She's probably the strongest support that you can possibly play in Plat Minus at the moment. And honestly, even high yellow, Soraka does a pretty good job. Nami's also been seeing a lot of gameplay with her buffs recently. She's been pretty potent and strong. Zyra is going to be your go-to mage, as generally as always, if you do need some extra ability power on your team. But Nautilus and Leona can still have really good catch-up potential. If you're playing with a duo partner like a Draven that can play Draven pretty well, then you're going to be laughing, because Draven is now going to be disgustingly OP if he's not permabanned. But Leona and Nautilus will always give you those options to roam around the map and with your jungler to make some macro plays. But if you solely want to focus on the pure 2v2 laning side of things, then you can't really go wrong with Soraka, honestly. And yeah, I hope this tier list helps you out. It'll be interesting to see what's going to be happening also in 2 weeks' time, whether any changes come into the tank support, or any AP mages that might want to do. But I think the next patch will mainly be balancing what just happened in this patch. So we'll see. I don't imagine they'll remove the Grievous Wounds removal on her ulti on Soraka. I'd imagine Soraka will stay the same. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. But I hope you guys enjoyed the tier list. I hope this guys helps you out as we get closer towards the end of season 11. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for some 11.18 gameplay. Take care, all the best, and stay safe. Bye berries. Bye bye.